Good morning, everybody. It's time for your Monday happiness mindset. Let's talk over the next few minutes about decluttering and how decluttering has a true impact on a connection to growing your self-esteem and boosting happiness. So spend the next few minutes with me and we can talk about the 5 top tips on why decluttering is so important for your mental health and your happiness state of mind. So it's week 4 for Happiness Mindset Mondays. And before I get into our topic today, I just want to thank those of you who have joined me so far on our first 3 weeks up to this point. It means a lot to me that you decide to carve part of your morning or your day to talk about happiness, not just see me doing things with design or with organization, but to truly talk about the concept and why it's really important that we all spend time prioritizing this in our lives. So let's talk about week 4's focus on happiness, and it has to do with decluttering. Did you know that decluttering has a powerful impact to potentially help boost your mental health and your self-esteem by actually doing a couple of things? 1, reducing your stress and anxiety. It also helps enhance your focus. So by doing those 2 things, you have a greater possibility and opportunity to boost your self-esteem and happiness. So what I'd like to do for today is let's go down top 5 reasons why decluttering is a key tool specifically for happiness. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is that decluttering gives you a sense of accomplishment. So think about this. How many of you cleaned up a closet or even just made your bed? I'm not every morning making your bed, but when you make your bed, you're like, oh, it looks beautiful, it's done. Those simple actions or big actions of decluttering or fixing up a space, it actually is proven to actually give you a big jolt of dopamine. And for those of you who know what dopamine is, it's like a happy drug, right? It's like after you go working out, you get that adrenaline rush of dopamine as well. Decluttering does the same thing. So it boosts your mood as well as your motivation, and it can foster a positive mindset. So right off the bat, if you declutter and organize a space or organize an area, right off the bat, it gives you that sense of a sense of accomplishment, and it gives you a positive mindset. Number 2 is an interesting one, and when I read about it, I was like, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. Decluttering is another tool for happiness because it allows you to reclaim control. Now, let me say that again. Decluttering gives you an opportunity to reclaim control. So let's talk about some key areas of this particular tool or tip and why reclaiming control can lead to happiness. Number 1, it empowers you to take control of your environment. Number 2, it also enhances your self-esteem and confidence because you look around and see what you have done and how you've impacted your space and put it into an area that you yourself feel is most suitable for your needs and your actions. But what I think is important for right now, and I don't know how many of you out there are feeling this, but in times of uncertainty, which I know a lot of people talk about right now, organizing can provide a sense of mastery and stability. So if you rewind the clock to 2020, I know a lot of us, we couldn't leave our houses, right? And it was seen that a lot of home improvement businesses actually did really well during COVID because everyone was focusing on redoing their houses. Part of it was because they weren't traveling on vacation, but another part was so many people were impacted by this extreme change in our lives because of what the COVID experience did to us. The only thing that they could do is control their environment. And so they redid their homes, or they did projects that they've been putting off. So if you see just how people act when it comes to uncertain times, I'm curious how many of you for the last couple of years, maybe you've been putting more energy into cleaning out your closets and feeling at least that space is reclaimed as yours because that's what you see every day. Or maybe you've painted a few rooms because it changed your mood, because we talked about in a couple of weeks ago about color impacting how you feel. So this particular tool or tip for decluttering, number 2, reclaiming control, definitely is a probable experience for many of you right now, just because of the state of the world. So I'm just curious, how many of you, tell me in the comments, how many of you have been putting more time in organizing your space or giving it a declutter because it's making you feel better, knowing that you can't control what's going on outside, but you absolutely can control within your own space. Number 3. Now, number 3 has to do specifically with your bedroom. So I'm looking down at my notes because I don't want to miss out on some tips here, but number 3 is improve sleep and well-being based on decluttering the space that you sleep in. There are a lot of studies on sleep right now. Sleep has an absolute correlation to someone's health. If you don't have so many hours of sleep, if you don't have deep REM sleep, the whole study about do you sleep in silence, how does having your phone next to you, etc. But what I'm going to talk about decluttering specifically is in research of sleep, it shows that cluttered rooms can disrupt sleep, and a tidy space absolutely promotes rest and relaxation. And so think about, the sheets on your bed. Do you wash them consistently? And I know that sounds silly because you would think, sure I do, but just the act of fresh sheets on your bed, so you have just the smell of being clean. Or when's the last time you bought yourself some nice fresh pillows? Or when's the last time you truly decluttered your nightstand so it's just things next to you that you need, not things that you've collected over so many months or weeks with stacks of books and potions and lotions and all this stuff. And if you like that stuff there, then that's you. But for some people, that's just a bunch of mess. And so to really pare it down, so it's the book you're currently reading today. If you have an alarm clock, the alarm clock is clean. It doesn't have dust accumulating on it. Many of us now use our phones as our alarm clock, but are you putting that in a spot so it's not right next to you, so every time your phone vibrates and when it's in sleep mode, you're waking up? How are you setting up the space when you declutter your bedroom to truly allow you to disconnect and get into your deep REM sleep? So that's number 3. Decluttering has been proven to improve your sleep and your well-being. Number 4, did you know that decluttering helps strengthen relationships? So for those of you who have shared spaces, whether it's with roommates, a spouse, a significant other, children, did you know that decluttering those shared spaces actually can reduce friction and tension between individuals? So for me, back to the bedroom, having an area so I'm going to be transparent with everybody. I tend to be what they call, I leave clusters of stuff around. And so I really have to focus on not leaving my little piles of stuff around. So part of it in the bedroom is sometimes I leave piles of my laundry that's been folded. And I tend to just grab the stuff because I'm going to use it again instead of putting it away. I know that drives my poor husband nuts. So I made a very conscious effort to put my laundry away before I go to sleep instead of letting it sit on a chair at the foot of our bed. The kitchen. For me, it drives me bonkers. And I don't know if it's because how I was raised, because it would drive my parents bonkers too, but I have a thing about dishes in the sink when you go to bed, because I really love in the first thing in the morning coming downstairs and seeing nothing in the sink. It's sort of like all the counters were wiped down after the last meal last night, and all the dishes are in the dishwasher, or even better, they're put away, but most of the time they're in the dishwasher from doing the dishwasher overnight. My point is this, when my kiddos and my husband do me the favor of making sure there are no dishes in the sink the night before, it just gives me a better peace of mind, which gives them a better environment. So when mom comes downstairs, she's not like, oh man, who left these dishes in the sink? Same thing with my husband. It strengthens our relationship because he knows that for him, it bothers him if I leave my laundry. Those are little things, but truly decluttering just a space in general, when you have people sharing it and there are areas honored for the things that are important to each person, it goes a long way. So it encourages open communication about values and needs, and it fosters a more harmonious living environment for all those involved. I love number 4. I think it's very relevant, and I never thought of it as a benefit of decluttering. I just thought of it as just getting things organized in general, but it truly does impact people's willingness to feel comfortable in a space together, because everyone has pet peeves. Mine are dishes in the sink at night. All right, so let's round this up for our final tip of the day. Number 5, this is my favorite one. Creating a space for what matters. And so let me just give you some, the 3 reasons why creating a space for what matters is so important. Number 1, decluttering is not just about removing things. So for those of you who saw my attic, Save My Attic episode a few weeks ago, that was a big project for me because it was 13 years of stuff that just was thrown up there. And not just by me, it was thrown up there by all 5 of us in our family. However, I had to go up there and remember it wasn't just me going through and just throwing things away. It was actually holding on to things, looking and saying, is there value in this? And if it wasn't my things, actually having my kiddo or my husband come up and say, is this valuable to you? Because once we identified that and we took care of what mattered, so it went into its own space, or it was sold, or it was donated, or it was thrown away, just by doing that, my goal of organizing the attic was to be able to go to tip number 2, which was to create a space that allows me to be able to pursue my happiness, which would be hobbies or interests or help with relationships overall. So for back to the attic, now that the space is so nice and open, I'm so excited because I can't wait to share with all of you. I love the holidays. I love Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. And so I do a lot of stuff, a lot of decorating with the stuff up in that attic. But what I was lacking was a place to do almost like a setup of what I wanted to do before I brought everything downstairs. And now the space is so open. Now I can open up a folding table when I'm going to get ready to actually do my creative stuff. And just knowing that, even though we're in July right now, just fills me with such joy. It really, really does. So remember, creating a space for what matters. It's not just about removing things. It's about creating that space for your life, for meaningful pursuits like hobbies and relationships, which I couldn't agree more. And then just knowing this, the last tip about number 5 is that this shift in focus, meaning you shift if decluttering is important to create space for you that matters, it can lead to a greater satisfaction and fulfillment in your life, which equals happiness. So those are the top 5 tips, everybody, for using decluttering as a tool for happiness. So let's talk about next steps for you. Your challenge, if you want to do it, is I want you to, over the next week, look at your spaces. So when I say look at your spaces, don't take on something that's too big today if you already have a pretty full week. But I bet you there are little things you could look at as well. So yes, look at your rooms in the space you live. Look at your bedroom, look at your kitchen, look at your closet, if you have an attic, whatever. See where there are spaces that could use a little refresher, meaning go through and do that whole process of what do you want to purge, throw away? What do you want to donate? What could you sell? And what do you want to keep? And for the things that you want to keep, are you keeping them and honoring them the right way? So if it's stuff you need to store, are you storing them and protecting them properly? Or are you just throwing them in a box? Or are you just throwing them in a drawer? Because that alone signifies how important something is if you're not even taking care of it when you're putting things away, so that when you're ready to use them, they're actually coming out and as much of a pristine manner as they could. You know, not just looking at your closets, etc. Even look at your drawers. You know, so for those of you who have a busy week, which most of us do, start with your desk drawer at work or in your home office, or even better, the top of your desk. Is the top of your desk still covered with bills and paperwork and a vase with dying flowers or a plant that needs watering? You know what? If you're surrounded by that and that's where you're working, think about how that subconsciously impacts how you're doing work at that desk in itself. So I will always remember this. My mom, my mom was a career fashion buyer. She had a very, very, very busy schedule. She traveled a lot, but when she was at her desk, she always had mounds and mounds of paperwork. But she had the best routine. And today, reflecting back on these tips, I actually see what her habit that she would do, how it made her feel in control. And that simple habit was this. At the end of every workday, she made sure her desk was clear, meaning there was not a work order, her calculator was put away, she didn't have any notes outstanding. Her routine at the end of the day was to make sure that everything was cleaned up, and she had a process for that. So if there were notes that she had to follow up tomorrow, she had a place for that in her organizer. If she had work orders that were still being worked on, she had a filing cabinet and a filing system that she put them back in with labels on her folder, so she knew things were still in progress. But I always remember thinking, what an interesting habit that she would do. And I remember seeing her do that in the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. That was what she did. And so I try to do my darndest to keep that as a mindset. Some days get away from me, but because you remember I told you I like to leave little clusters everywhere. But for her to do that and how she's embedded that into me, when I have a clear desk, it's kind of like the same feeling of having no dishes in the sink. When I walk into my office and my office just looks fresh, it instantly gives me okay, fresh day, new day, let's get on with these new challenges, these new projects. Versus I walk in and there's the pile of bills, or there's the pile of notes that I still haven't had a chance to organize. I've now adapted my mom's system, and it works. It works. So anyway, my challenge to you is look at all this stuff, pick something that you can declutter, and consider how decluttering and creating a clutter-free environment opens up your space for more things that truly matter in your life. That's my wish for all of you. It's not just, oh, gee, have a happy sense in life, but Happiness unlocks things. And in this particular episode, decluttering, the mindset of decluttering, the purpose of decluttering, the intention of decluttering and doing it, there are so many benefits. And with that, I want you to take these learnings or take these reminders if you've already known them. And I say to you, during the middle of the summer, where we have sort of that mid-year reboot, what could you declutter today? What could you declutter this week that's going to unlock that space for you to truly feel creative, calm, creative, and in control? So that's it, everybody. Thank you for joining me poolside today, this Monday morning. And I wish you the strongest, most excellent, fabulous week ahead. Speaking of decluttering, this week's Friday Happiness Project, I will be attacking the garden shed. I'm going to declutter it. I'm going to organize it. And so I can't wait to show you the process. And I will give you as many tips and tricks I can as I go along, but I'm here to tell you I'm learning as I go too. So you may be able to share some tips and tricks with me as you watch the episode together. So thank you for your time, and I wish you the best of weeks. Take care, everybody. Bye.